Welcome back, Nick Lynch's Comic Corner, Classic / Non-Classic. This is episode number 415 and Doubleshot number 336. Two DC trades. First up, it's Batman 66 meets The Man from U.N.C.L.E. This trade collects a 6-issue limited series written by Jeff Parker. As far as I can, I think that Man from U.N.C.L.E. was published by, Boom Studios. Yeah, I think so. Yes. With artwork by David Hahn, Paquil Quinalo, and Carl Kessel, who is a Suitman artist. The cover art for all 6 issues are done by Mike and Laura Aldred. Pretty much, like Italo suggests, Batman teams up with the agents from The Man from U.N.C.L.E. Now, the only reason why I think that DC did this because, well, the Man from U.N.C.L.E. film came out just a couple years ago. I actually saw the film in theaters. I actually thought it was really good, despite the fact that it didn't make much money and it was a disappointment at the box office. I mean, the film starred, of all people, Henry Cavill as, what's his name? I think, he played Solo, and Armie Hammer played the Russian. Yeah, that's who played him in the movie. In the original show, it was the guy who plays Ducky from NCIS. He played the Russian. Who played Solo? Let me look it up here. Let's see. Alright. The original actor who played Solo was, let's see if I can find it here. Napoleon Solo was played by, if I can find it here, Robert Vaughn. Yeah. And Dave McCallum, basically the guy who currently plays Ducky in NCIS. Yeah, he played the Russian. Yep, and the I got to admit, and here's a good cover art depiction. Yeah, the artist does a really good job depicting the original actor Super Chain back in the '60s. Now, I have never seen the Man from U.N.C.L.E. TV show, so despite the fact when the film came out a couple years ago, it's like, oh yeah, build nostalgia. Okay, aside from people who actually watch the show, and I kind of heard about it via NCIS, hardly anybody knows what Man from U.N.C.L.E. really is. Unlike Mission Impossible, people do have a pretty good idea what that is. But as Man from U.N.C.L.E., they have no idea what it is. Basically, Man from U.N.C.L.E. is a show from the 60s. It's a spy show. And Batman teams up with him. And here's something interesting, though. They have Batman villains joining the Thrash organization. Thrash is basically the enemy of U.N.C.L.E., the organization U.N.C.L.E. And the people who join Thrash are, if I can find the right page here, is... let's see, yeah. And they'll break out the Arkham Institute. Now, Arkham Asylum, the Arkham Institute. And these people are Mr. Freeze, Poison Ivy, Egghead, Sandman, Siren, and Scarecrow. Yep. Oh, I'll also point out, though, that this Mr. Freeze, that's actually the original... this suit is actually from the first actor who portrayed him. All 3 actors have since passed away, so I had to point that out, though. But this feels like a great continuation of the Batman 6 comic book that Jeff Parker did for a few years. It's a great... This miniseries is just great. The only couple really big firsts with this one, aside from the fact you have Batman team up with Agents of U.N.C.L.E., is the fact you have a video conference thing in the Batcave, which is, as far as I can tell, that was not technology from the 1960s. Well, maybe in the Super Friends TV show, but as for Batman doing it, that's something a little weird. Aside from the fact you have these Batman villains basically joining Thrash, which, by the way, they're captured at the very end. This miniseries is known for the introduction of one particular character to the Batman 6 universe. Hugo Strange. Yep, and he looks completely different. Also, there's actually nods to the Strange Apparition storyline, where he puts on the Bat costume, trying to figure out what Batman's identity is. So yeah, he does pretty much the same stick that Steve Englehart basically had the character do back in the 70s. This miniseries is just great. It's the second crossover I've actually reviewed for Batman 66. First one I reviewed was when he crossed over to Green Hornet. Now I reviewed Man from U.N.C.L.E. The only ones I have not reviewed it is when he teamed up with the British TV show The Avengers, Wonder Woman, and I know that right now he's teaming up with Legion of Superheroes, which that's going to be interesting when I get a chance to read that. But this is great. I'm gonna give this 9 out of 10. This is actually really good. Basically, anybody who's a fan, who actually liked mathematical film and are interested in the original TV show, try this out. Or people who are fans of the 66 series would probably love that. Next is Superman, Wonder Woman, Volume 5. Excuse me, Savage End, which contain issues. Excuse me. 25 to 20 in number 1. Plus, it also includes the unpublished issues at that point, because these issues came out last year. Issue 30 and 31. These issues were supposed to come out, but because of DC Rebirth, the series was canceled prior to these issues being released. And they put the issues in here. The last 2 issues take place before issue 28. Take place between 27 and 28 of Superman, Wonder Woman. Just a 2-parter leading up to basically when Wonder Woman shows up in Final Days of Superman. Now, all the issues in here, except for the last 2, are written by Peter J. Tomasi. And Peter J. Tomasi also writes the annual as well. The last couple of issues, those are written by Brian Buccellato. Yeah, he writes the last couple of issues in here. There's also writing duties by Keith Shephan, I think his name is, with artwork by Ed Baines, Giuseppe Catharo, Chris Cross, Jorge Jimenez, who actually is the current artist of Super Sons, Doug Mankey, Pop Man, Cliff Richards, and Marco Sankelli. Yeah, they're the ones who actually do the interiors. The cover art is done by Jarmia Jr., Scott Hanna, and Laura Martin. Yeah, they're the ones who do this. Actually, this is actually a really good cover. It's actually not that bad. There's a few different stories. It mainly deals with stuff like Savage Dawn, and of course the Final Days of Superman crossover. The only parts in here that has nothing really much to do with either of those 2 crossovers is issues 30 and 31, and of course the annual. The annual is just a couple stories of basically, one is basically Clark thinking of proposing to Wonder Woman, and he puts the ring away. The other one just basically him having a bad mood because he be upset that he wasn't able to go out, despite the fact he has limited powers. Go out and help Wonder Woman, basically whatever she was doing. Also, I should point out though, during these issues, Wonder Woman is still wearing the David Finch costume, the one where it's a full body suit and the gauntlets that shoot out mini little swords. Yeah. In the main Wonder Woman book, she only wore that for 6 issues, and then she went back to the Jim Lee costume. Currently, she's wearing a costume designed by, I think it's Liam Sharp is the one who designed the current costume. Yeah, it was Liam Sharp who designed the current costume. But none of the issues in here are bad, and though it kind of suffers the same problem as other trades that collect issues from crossovers and don't collect the actual regular issues in here. They give what I've heard is referred to as the Amazon's attack treatment. Here's a good example of this. Look at this. A text summary of the other parts. So, yeah, that's simply one big problem with this trade, is the fact they give summaries for in between several of the issues of this particular thing. So, if you want to read Savage Dawn and Final Days Superman, you gotta get the trades. This trade, the only reason why that it kind of exists is, I guess the reason why they decided to just throw in the last 5 issues plus the 2 unpublished issues in the annual, because they want to put out one last trade before Rebirth, basically, just as a final hurrah for this particular series. This series is not bad per se, and I've reviewed pretty much every single trade that's pretty much been released, except for Volume 1. I've never reviewed Volume 1. 2, I decided to skip that one because I reviewed the issues that in the Superman Doom trade, and I've reviewed the previous 2 trades that collect issues from this very series. So, kind of in the way of the 5 trades, I reviewed 4 of them. So, the first one's the one left I have not reviewed yet. But thanks to the crossover Superman Reborn, this series is deemed non-canon because, well, Superman and Wonder Woman never a couple. Yep. But I should point out, though, he did wear this costume. Yep. According to Superman Reborn, he did wear this costume. But this series doesn't happen. Not in the current content. This series has been retconned to be non-canon. But the series is not terrible. I mean, heck, series that are deemed non-canon basically are just not terrible books. They're just basically not necessary to move the series forward. I should point out, though, Free Flash and Superman does show up for a couple issues in this particular trade, and he does pretty much almost nothing. Yeah. But this is good. For what it is, basically, I'm going to give it 8.5 out of 10. I just want to be nice to it. PJ Tomasi does actually a pretty good job with this. The two unpublished issues are actually really good. Brian Bucciolo does a really good job with it. Despite the fact that he has written one prior to this, he was basically the original writer of the previous volume of the series. His run was very mixed at best. Mary the Fincher was also mixed as well, but it was a little more positive than negative. Brian Bucciolo, his was a little more negative than positive reception from what I've heard. But yeah, for me, Brian Bucciolo is not a bad writer. I read good stuff written by him. I read Joker and Lex, Man of Steel. I read those two minis. I read those two things by him. Heck, I read his Batman stuff. It's actually really good. I enjoy Brian Azzarello's work. Not Brian Azzarello. I think it's Brian Bucciolo. I think it is. Yeah, it's Brian Bucciolo. Yeah, so it's not Brian Azzarello. It's Brian Bucciolo. The guy who's used the co-writer for Francis Metapod. Though currently Brian Bucciolo is not currently doing any books that I can think of, Francis Metapod is currently doing Trinity. As of what Brian Bucciolo is doing. The most recent thing I've heard he did was he did year 4 and 5, 3, 4, and 5 for Injustice. Okay, but 8.5 out of 10. Alright, that's it for this episode. Stay tuned for the next episode, which is episode 416 and Doubleshot number 337. Okay? But until then, I will see you there. Bye.